I'm Dawn Sutherland, and I'm a Flagstaff oil painter. I got into painting at the age of 47, and after I retired from a career in counseling. And when I moved west to Cottonwood, I fell in with a good group of painters there, and kept going outdoors to paint and kept up in search of beautiful landscapes and trying to capture the essence and the reality of the landscape. So I think what I want to paint today is going to be out this direction, but we'll walk down to the end. Take a little walk here and peer in. You can see a little piece of the South Kaibab Trail dropping down off Skeleton Point. And the shadows are just starting to get good now, so we can carefully walk out to the end and start to analyze where it is I want to paint. Selecting a site is always a fun and interesting process. I've been to the Grand Canyon many times to paint, and often go there with a painting friend too. And we may know ahead of time where we want to go, but you of course never really know until you get there. Sometimes we'll hop out of the car and take a look over the rim, say at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, depending on the light, and just sort of stand there and look for a moment and see if anything grabs us. We look for formations maybe that are uniquely colored in the sunlight, maybe casting some intense or interesting shadows. In the canyon particularly, we're looking for reflected light, and that's one thing that I like to put into my paintings most of all, is that bounce of light off of another surface into the shadows. What I'll be aiming for today is to get some of the reflected light on the red wall. So I'll be looking at a formation, I think, pretty far down in there. So when I walk up to a site, and let's use, for instance, the Grand Canyon, I'll walk up to the edge and take a look, and let's say something does call to me. The canyon is a very complicated piece to paint. There's so much there, and I think the mistakes of early attempts was trying to take in too much, jam a huge, beautiful scene onto a small canvas, and we plein air painters tend to work on relatively small canvases. What I'm doing at this point is just an initial block in deciding just where on the canvas I want to put the main subject, just blocking in the basic forms, where the shadows go, and a little bit of the composition. The trick is to find an intimate scene, one landform, one pattern of shadows that I think is going to tell a little story, cause a little curiosity in the viewer, give the viewer's eye a little place to take a little trip around the canvas. So how do we know when we've come to a place? How do painters know? You listen for an internal voice, at least I do in my case. If a scene keeps calling to me, if it keeps saying, no, take a look over here, I'm waiting to be painted, that's the one I know I need to go with. One phrase that comes to mind is dance with the one who asks you to the dance. Fairly recently I was out painting with a friend, and he was intrigued with a scene, and I thought, yeah, it had some pretty cool shadows. Maybe I should try that, although my attention had been drawn by a scene behind me. And so I started out trying to paint the scene my friend was painting, and it just wasn't happening. I just wasn't able to put it together. Cleaned off the canvas, turned around 180 degrees, and I thought, oh, there's the formation. It's been waiting for me, and it just felt right. I think to categorize my style, I'd simply call it realism. I want my pieces to look like what the landscape looks like, but of course with a little bit of my spin, maybe my interpretation on them. So I may be more intrigued, for instance, with the blue shadows that fall across the landforms in the canyon, and that probably would give my paintings perhaps a little bit more unique look than the next painter. I think style is a little bit like handwriting. The more you paint, the more individual your style becomes, so that eventually you can look at a painter's work and go, oh, that must be a Sutherland. I can see something similar in each of her paintings. I've always loved great landscapes, and now I have the opportunity to paint them.